Okay, shalom, brilliant. Lesson ahead. Leah, the hated wife, and the Rabbi Kaduri note. Incredible connection between the concept of Leah, the hated wife, and the Kaduri note. Let's go and have a look and see how significant this is. Okay, so shalom, right, we've got this verse. And she conceived again and bore a son, and she said, since the Lord has heard that I am hated, he gave me this one too. So she named him Shimon. And that's Genesis 29:33. Look at this for gematria. I'm going to be moving quite quickly through this lesson, but the gematria is absolutely wonderful. So she named him Shimon. Right. First of all, the regular is exactly the regular and ordinal of Yeshua filled out to the second filling. Yod, Shin, Vav, Ayin. 1519. So straight away we've got Shimon connected to the concept of Yeshua, and like I say, Yeshua is a title for the Mashiach who comes at the level of Mashiach ben Yosef, which is the level of the Yechidah, which reveals the name above the letter of the Torah. Hillel and Menachem did not disagree. So this is when Shimei came in, who is Shimon ben Hillel, who is Shimon Kefer, who is the rock upon which the house of God will ultimately be built. The atbash of this phrase comes to 688, which is exactly the same as Hillel and Menachem did not disagree. Okay, and because they didn't disagree, it says then Menachem went out and Shimei came in. This is taken from the Talmud. So this connects to my previous teachings. However, just look at the gematria of this. There's something highly significant about this, because 334 is the gematria of Mashiach ben Dawid, when Dawid has got the additional yud in it. So all, again, extremely prophetic codes for us to try and unlock. The fourth one, he will lift the people, and prove, confirm that that his word and his teaching, law, Torah, stand, endure, and is valid. Okay, so this is the Kaduri note, that the initial letters spell Yehoshua. Okay, and as we can see, we've got a connection. If we fill this out to all the different fillings, whether at the different levels of Asiyah, where the He is filled and the Vav is filled in different ways, and add those all up, it comes to 14, which is Dawid, times 1519. It's exactly connected to, so she named him Shimon. It's exactly connected to Yeshua. Okay? And it's absolutely wonderful. Not only that, 5296 is related down here. Just as Moshe lifted up the snake in the wilderness, so the Son of Man too must be lifted up. And we know that he must almost resemble the serpent, because hidden in all that is the truth that his mother has got to behold, which represents the last letter here of the name of Yod He Waw He. Yeshua represents the Vav, but the truth is missing. Okay, the truth is missing, and we've just got these lies and this false concept of Mashiach that we need to wrestle with, and we need to wrestle with Satan in order to become our true potential self. So it's only wrestling with Satan through the night of exile that Yaakov becomes Yisrael, and we will see in this lesson how that phenomena is also connected to this. So he must be lifted up like the snake, because when we're wrestling with Satan that we understand the whole concept of the hidden way in which Yod He Waw gathers in the lost of the house of Israel, gathers in the house of Yosef, and has illuminated his name to Yosef in a very different way to how he's illuminated it to Yeshua. To Yehuda. But those two need to be united together because they're one name, upper and lower face. Okay? Right, it's really important stuff. He will raise and lift up the people. So there you've got an absolute connection. He is connected to the Mashiach that Kaduri was speaking about, called Yehoshua, which is a title for the one who reveals this upper name, this upper face. And it's a big mystery how this name is ultimately revealed, because it can't be revealed unless it cannot be coming to this world of duality. where there's got to be equal and opposite light and dark, good and evil, because we fought in our fallen state. It cannot come into this world, that bright light, without its equal opposite darkness. It's like the Baal Shem Tov and his Misnagadim. There's always got to be opposite forces until you wrestle those forces down. Like Baal Shem Tov had to wrestle against the Misnagadim and bring them over to become favourable towards him. So too Mashiach ben Yosef, he has to go up against, he has to go sit in the centre of Rome, the absolute, place of the beast and the Antichrist and everything evil in the entire world. He's got to go there and overwhelm those powers. Okay, and from the centre of evil itself, in the belly of the serpent. So, but it's in this process of wrestling with darkness that our full strength comes into play, and we become not just Yaakov, but Yisrael. And this is the whole intention. God has got a plan. He don't want us just to be Yaakov. He wants us to reach our fullest potential, which is Yisrael. But that only comes from wrestling with Satan. So how do we wrestle with Satan? Well, we've got to have an equal opposite force of light, an equal opposite force of darkness, and we've got to wrestle with that until we subdue it to the side of holy. So this is exactly what he did. The bright light came in, the revelation of the name of Yod Heh Wav above the letter of the Torah. So did the darkness, so did the serpent, so did Catholicism, to conceal all this truth with nothing but lies. Judaism is basically Roman Catholicism, because it believes the lies that it got into bed with Rome, with Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai. Catholicism, all forms of Christianity is Roman Catholicism. Islam is Roman Catholicism, because we're in the belly of the serpent. That is Roman Catholicism. We are in the belly of this Edomite exile. We've got to get out. It represents nothing but lies. Jewish people, unfortunately, don't recognise the depth to which they are enslaved to lies. They don't recognise the depth to which the Torah of Moshe is within the belly of that serpent. You need to break out with the truth. Emeth is our power to overcome the serpent. The serpent represents Satan, liars. Okay, so that's all a powerful connection. And Yaakov was left alone. He was left alone after he'd fought with Satan. Okay, so there's lots of numbers in there. I can't go through that now, but as we can see, this is related to the Kaduri note. It was related to just as Moshe lifted up the serpent in the wilderness, so too the Son of Man must be lifted up, because the letter here, the literal letter of the Torah, is impregnating with the whole secret mystery, the whole 2,000 years of Edomite exile, where we've been wrestling with Satan himself. It needs impregnating with the secret dimension of the Torah, which is Mashiach ben Yosef, gathering the lost of the house of Yosef, so that we are all Yisrael, not just Yehuda. God has got a plan. It's bigger than what we have got for our own individual lives. Take note of his plan, because his plan is Torah. Our plan is Torah in exile. 327 is also very significant, as is 981. 327 is Mashiach ben David, Mashiach ben Yosef, Mashiach ben Ephraim. The ordinals of those added together, that would be 82, 116 and 129. I think it could be 92 if it's David rectified. And prepare a chair for Hezekiah, the king of Judea, who is coming from the upper world to accompany me. These were Ramban Yochanan ben Zakkai's last words. Ramban Yochanan ben Zakkai is a significant figure also, because he was the one that took over after the house of Shammai was finally overcome in AD 70. He took over the Sanhedrin. He took over the he got into bed with Vespasian. He got into bed with Vespasian. We blame Romans for what happened, but it ultimately was Erev Rav, rabbinical Judaism, that got into bed with the Romans. Okay, for an ultimate purpose, the two camps had to be split up because we was going against the Romans, and things like that. There's a lot that you could go on with Ramban Yochanan ben Zakkai. Got to start to interpret favourably, however. He was stuck in Jerusalem with the Zealots. The Zealots had burned the storehouses down. The Zealots were the ones who betrayed Yeshua, by the way, Shimon ben Hillel. Because basically, Shimon ben Hillel's disciples were the Zealots. The house of Shammai were much more zealous, but they're not zealous for the wrong thing. They weren't zealous for the name as being revealed through Shimon. You see, this way you got the misnegadim, you got the opposites. This holy, absolutely pure name of total and absolute mercy, what had to come in at the same time? These zealots that were zealous for things like death and judgment, that carried knives around with him, the Iscariots, the Sakari. Ramban ben Zakkai had to make some deal with Abba Sakari, the head of these zealots, to get himself out of Jerusalem. And when he got himself out, he had to pretend to be dead, as the zealots would have killed him. The zealots burnt down the storehouses. You see the people that were starving to death in Jerusalem, that's because the zealots burnt down the storehouses, rather than submitting anyway to Rome. So Rabban Yochanan ben Zakkai had to get out, because literally women was eating babies. This was brought about by zealots burning the storehouses down. Zealots betrayed the message of Yod-Heh-Waw-Heh's name. You got to understand that the New Testament and Yeshua being betrayed by the zealots is all coded message. The zealots betrayed the name of Yod-Heh-Waw-Heh. They are the concealment, but God cannot bring one in without the other. So everything has got a holy purpose and a good purpose. We can interpret it one way, or we can interpret it from the side of accusation, the side of Satan, or the side of Chesed, Michael, the side of advocate. And somehow between them we've got to bring them both into line, because man did evil, God did good. So somehow between them we've got to find that middle path. Okay, so man has evil free choice, but God somehow manages to balance that up, and we get to where we're meant to be going. And prepare a chair for Hezekiah. So these are the last words of Yochanan ben Zakkai. Yochanan ben Zakkai had to get out of Jerusalem. He pretended to be dead. He went and he struck a deal with Rome in AD 70, and prior to the destruction of the temple. We know that this time Shimon ben Kepha died, because Shimon ben Kepha was died in AD 64, AD 68. So I believe he would have died. They don't know for definite. He would have died in the 120th year, because he was a prophet like Moshe, and Moshe died in the 120th year, and he'd been 40 years in the wilderness, and Shimon Kepha had been for probably 40 years in Rome, from AD 30 up to AD 70. Yochanan ben Zakkai struck a deal with Vespasian that, one, allowed him to establish the Sanhedrin and the yeshiva at Yavna. Two, allowed him to get a physician for Rabbi Zadok. Three, to maintain the house of Hillel, because they were the Davidic dynasty. Shimon ben Hillel, who I've talked about a lot, who is Shammai, was of the house of Hillel. So we know he was Davidic dynasty. The Mashiach had to come from David. He was from David. So there's all these wonderful things. Yochanan ben Zakkai, however, is an important figure, because he went into bed with Rome. So he took the Jews into bed with Rome, because the whole rabbinic Judaism is based on what was established by Yochanan ben Zakkai. And by the way, Yochanan ben Zakkai, I do believe, wrote Teliyat Yeshu, or the Hanging of Esav. This is the book, a very, very ancient book about a false prophet called Yeshu. That it would appear that the New Testament was based on the book that Rabban Yochanan ben Zakkai actually wrote. Okay, some version of it. So we know he got him to bed with Rome. We know he's been part of this whole deception to keep Jews and the lost house of Joseph separate, to get them over into Rome. But there is also a lot of lies about who Shimon Kepha is, because ultimately this had to happen. God follows his Torah. Yaakov split the camps in two. God split the house of Israel into two camps. Okay, the whole of this week's Torah portion, which we read this in, has got 148 verses, which comes to Machanaim, two camps. Okay, so everything we need to know about the two camps is hidden in that, and everything we need to know about the concept of Mashiach is hidden in that also. So the fact that these were Ramban Yochanan ben Zakkai's words, we need to look towards this in order to understand this note up here. That's what I'm trying to say. The 5369, where do we get that from? Okay, so here, the highest level of filling out, 5379, level of absolute, comes to 7 times 767. And this is 767, the last words of Rambam Yochanan ben Zakkai. I hope you're following what I mean. Judaism is Roman Catholicism because it got into bed with Vespasian, the man who was the emperor at the time of the sacking of Jerusalem and the destruction of the temple. Son destroyed the temple, Titus. This was in AD 70, 40 years after Shimon ben Kepha had been in Rome from AD 30. He was betrayed by the zealots. Yochanan ben Zakkai then removed the zealots. He didn't ask for the people of Jerusalem to be spared, because Vespasian mentioned that these are zealots in Jerusalem, and Ramban Yochanan ben Zakkai kept silent. He just kept silent regarding the zealots in Jerusalem, and he didn't ask Vespasian to spare their lives. And in fact, when Vespasian came in through the north, he obliterated all the zealot strongholds in the Galilee. So and then in AD 70, just prior to the destruction of the temple, the house of Shammai, who became the zealots, that were the Misnagadim to this wonderful revelation of the name of Yod-Heh-Wah-Heh, they was taken out of the Sanhedrin, and Yochanan ben Zakkai took over. Okay, and then Gamaliel, who was Shimon ben Hillel's son, came in as the Nasai. Okay, so I think it's Gamaliel who was his son in AD 70. Okay, the house of Shammai had been in charge of the whole of the Sanhedrin till then. The zealots had been in charge, and they'd caused a lot of trouble because they're zealous for death, they're zealous for judgment, they're not zealous for mercy. But like I say, there has to be one opposite the other. Okay, so it's all connected and it's all wonderful. And if you have any understanding of this whole situation, you will understand what I'm saying. Number of verses in Genesis come to 1,534, 2 times 767. It's the mnemonic Daleth, I should say. Only for Daleth. Daleth is God. It symbolises the 4 letters of the tetragrammaton. Daleth spelled out, by the way, Daleth Lamed Tav comes to 434, the exact same as Mashiach ben Dawid, when Dawid has got the additional Yod. So it's connected to all the number of verses, the entire of the verses in the book of Genesis, which is a big blueprint for the whole revelation of Mashiach ben Yosef. It's all contained within the book of Genesis. Your kahuna in all matters. So if we take this here, this Ach Lamed Daleth, only for God, which is a mnemonic for the 1,000. Aleph is 1,000. Chof Sofit is 500. Lamed is 30. Daleth is 4. So the 134 verses, 1,534 verses, comes to Ach Lamed Daleth. Only for God. This is only for God to fulfill, probably. And then in the Torah, you've got this verse that has got those exact letters as initial letters. Et kahunatchem lechol devar. Your kahuna in all matters. So the regular and ordinal of that comes to 1,382, 2 times 691, which is related to this. It is a mnemonic for this that is related to the Kaduri note. All the books of the Torah, however, the regular and the ordinal, if you add them together, come to 4 times 691. So we know this is an important number. This would be 2 times this, the regular and ordinal of every single name of the book of Torah. And also here, We've got a very powerful connection then to this number and to this verse, which is the only verse in the entire of the Tanakh where you've got an acronym of Shimon. Shimon. Okay, went through some of that in last week's last lesson. So I passed out and was very crushed. I mourned. So these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 letters spell out Shimon. Okay, so it's connected to this verse and everything that we're talking about. The last letters, the last words that are not included in Shimon, Menahamat Libi, from the turmoil of my heart, comes to 577, very important. 91 is Amen, and it's also Yod He Wawi and Adonai added together. Comes to 668. It's got a triangular number of 691, so related to all the books of the Torah and this mysterious an acronym for the mnemonic for the number of verses in the book of Genesis that is connected to the last words of Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai and the Kaduri note. This is, however, extremely significant because we know it's related to Shimon Kefer. It's exactly the same gematria as Shimon Kefer, and it's exactly the same gematria as the regular and ordinal for B'Yom Hashmini, the 8th day. When did this atrocity happen in Israel? On the 8th day. Okay, 577. So we've got to learn from all this because that is an opportunity to reveal from this horrific darkness comes out light. Got to transform it. Not only that, we've got Leah plus Yisrael comes to 577. We've got Yaakov wrestling with the forces of Satan. Only when Yaakov wrestles with the forces of Satan, the forces of Roman Catholicism, the forces of the serpent in which bellies we are trapped, the lies, the deception, the delusion, then he can be truly married and united to Leah, the upper hair. Okay, he is exalted up to the level of Yisrael. He's got a new name, means one who was striven with man and God. Then he's the perfect match for Leah. And it's when he attains the level of Yisrael, because he's fought against the forces of the Roman Catholic Church that deceive, that come about through Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai, through Rabbi Yechiva, through causing Shimon ben Hillel to descend into Rome. But it was all part of God's plan. It's all part of God's plan. There's only God. It's all what God had to do to give us the opportunity to become Yisrael, to fight against the forces of Roman Catholicism. So Leah plus Yisrael is 577. This is only revealed because of this darkness. You've got to wrestle with the forces of this darkness that is for all to see on the 8th day, because one is probably an inside job done by Erev Rav Jews that are in bed with Rome. It's no different from Catholicism. It's totally sold out to Catholicism. The Vatican rules the state of Israel at this time. It's a fact. You've got to start to wake up to these forces and wrestle against them. You can't be deluded in the serpent's belly anymore because God is wanting to reveal his truth. You've got to let go of Erev Rav indoctrination and lies that have been feeding us for so long on the puffed up bread of the Pharisees, the leaven of the Pharisees and the Sadducees. Yochanan ben Zakkai, Pharisee. He established rabbinical Judaism. It's based on Pharisaical teachings of a man who got into bed with Vespasian. Okay, the only things you believe in Judaism is what Romans have allowed you to believe. And that was negotiated via Yochanan ben Zakkai, who put himself at the head of rabbinical Judaism. Everything is based on what this man's teachings, what he established at Yavna, ultimately. And he got into bed with Rome. It's a fact. You've got to open your eyes and understand that we are all in the belly of the serpent. We all need to get out. There's no truth in Judaism when it's trapped in the belly of the Roman Catholic Church. We need to remove that. Very hard to remove Erev Rav influence because it's likened, the stalk is likened to Esav, Edomite influence. It's easy to pick out the lies in Christianity. If you ask just a few questions, it soon crumbles to pieces. Yishmael's like the chaff round the wheat. Erev Rav is compared to the bran. It's all mixed in with the flour. You're going to have to sift that. Once you start making bread and eating it, how are you going to get the bran out? It's so integral to that flour. You got to work on it. You got to remove all the bran. You got to do a lot of sifting. And you got to desire the truth, you know. So all these are connected. It's a wonderful connection. Fast of the 9th of Tevet, square ordinal 2308, which is 4 times 577. Fast of the 9th of Tevet is the day of the Yortzeit according to Rabbinical Judaism of Shimon Kefa. Okay, there's a fast day inaugurated for Shimon Kefa. And Isaac loved Esav. Why did he love Esav? Because he knew that in order for Yitzhak, who was the Yechidah, to be revealed in this world, he needed to go up against the forces of Esav. He knew that his equal opposite had to come in. He knew that in order for that light to be fully revealed and made manifest, it could only be made manifest through that battle with the forces of the opposite. Okay, so 1154. There are rabbis in Israel who were able to understand this and who should be doing something about it now. There are rabbis that need to act now or forsake the Torah, because the crow has called, the cockerel's called. Don't wait till you get to the 7th call. It will be void. You have the opportunity to confirm Torah, or the opportunity is going to go and void it. And we're going to enter into some kind of horrific birth pangs of Mashiach act now. Because this, we don't know what level of darkness we have to experience for the light to come out. If this isn't accepted in an easy way, if we don't choose the easy way to usher in Mashiach through being strong enough to stand up against Satan, then we're just going to have to wrestle with him a whole lot longer. You see how hard it is to overcome Satan today. We don't know what we are going to leave for the ones to come after us if we don't take a stand now. So there's rabbis, and I hope they get this on board with this idea. Stand up now. Stand up now. Speak now. You know, we have not got time to waste. We have been in the belly of the serpent long enough now. Put in place whatever it needs to be put in place to ensure that we don't have to go to a place that is a whole lot worse than what the Jewish people have already experienced on the 8th day of Sukkot in this year. Speak now. You know, this is easy. However hard it is to speak the truth, it's easier than remaining silent, and it's easier than confirming the lies. We can't negotiate with Satan. This day proves we cannot negotiate with Satan. We have to fight. We're Yisrael. We have no option. So stop with these lies. Stop with the accepting silence, because we're the only one speaking the truth. Be the only one speaking the truth. It says here, and Jacob was left alone. Joseph was alone. He was separated from his brothers. He had to contend with all the forces of Pharaoh on his own. Know your strength. Know your own inner strength. You don't need to wait for another person to confirm it. You need to know it for yourself. So I'm really angry sometimes when I hear excuses for doing nothing. And that's why I've said what I've said. Because I watched a video last night and I am sick of people who know better doing nothing about it. Okay, so again, Mashiach ben David, Mashiach ben Yosef, and Mashiach ben Ephraim, 1731. Which is 3 times 577. The Mashiach is connected to this. And finally, Yeshu, Yimach Shemo Zikro. The square ordinal of Yeshu, 577. It is all perfectly connected. Okay, let's just quickly go through these other numbers then, because they're absolutely incredible. This is going to point us to how this whole concept is related to both the concept of the Mashiach, the 5 strong leaves that surround the 13 petal rose, and the alternative. Right, so First of all, we've got a Mispar Gadol, 2,169 plus 189 comes to 2,358. 6 times 393. 393 is a very significant number. Good inclination. This is Yaakov. This is Israel. Comes to regular order 392 plus a klal 393. Again, we've got this. These are the 5 petals. These are the 5 aspects of the name of Yod He Waweh. The tip of the Yod, the body of the Yod, the upper He, the Vav, and the lower, the letter He. This is only the combination when it comes to revealing the concept of the Mashiach, because Sarach is part of the last letter He that reveals the Mashiach. When it comes to resurrection of the dead, the next level of our faith that must be corrected under when King David under Mashiach ben Dawid, the last aspect of our faith that needs perfecting, that changes to Rachel because she died and she needs resurrecting from the dead. Okay, and the gematria points to that. I can't go through that in this lesson. However, if we take the regular and the ordinal of this combination of the 5 aspects of the name of Yod He Waweh, comes to 2,358. 6 times 393. It's a good inclination, dominating over the evil inclination, Satan. Hebrews 327. So I already pointed out that 327, didn't I? Mashiach ben Dawid, Mashiach, ordinal of Mashiach ben Dawid, Mashiach ben Yosef, Mashiach ben Ephraim. 393, regular and ordinal. Spirit of truth, Ruach Ha'ameth. Square ordinal, 1,179, 3 times 393. Yeshu spelled out again this way, Yod Shin Vav, where the Vav is filled with an Aleph, 393. The ravens, Ha'ovrim. Ha'orvim, the ravens, 327 again. 66, exactly the same as Hebrew, because it's the Hebrews, because it's the exact same letters. I've duplicated this. So the ravens, the holy dove, is concealed at this time in exile. She appears like a raven, and that's exactly the same word as the Arabs, which become our enemy until we rise up as Israel. Because only as Israel can we be a light to the nations. What light? The name of Yod He Waweh with the upper face and the lower face united as one. And then we've got the Ruach HaKodesh, the Ruach HaAmeth, which is the holy dove, the Ruach HaKodesh, instead of this raven. We don't have to learn from the raven, we can learn from the holy dove that brings in the whole concept of the Mashiach. She tears the olive branch off the tree. This is Mashiach ben Dawid. She ushers in the holy king. And Yesh Adonai. Yesh Adonai. There is Yod He Waweh. Also regular and ordinal. That ordinal is HaMoshiach, the Mashiach, 393. And Shiloh, 345. Same as Moshe, 48. Same ordinal as Yosef. Got to unite Moshe and Yosef together. Sheikh ben Yosef comes 393. It's all connected to this. In fact, there's probably 6 things there, isn't there? 6 times 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Well, at least 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 things connected to 393. However, there's more things. There's as much as there's good, there's as evil as well. In the previous lessons, you'll find out the significance of Yesh Adonai. If you take the names Moshe, Yeshua and Yonah being the holy dove instead of the raven, the Aravim, this is the Yonah, both of the Mashiachs had to be the number 71. They had to be the 71th, the Nasai from the from the Sanhedrin, the 71st, 70 plus 1 plus the 70 nations, or 1 plus the 70 that represent the 70 nations. 1 being Israel. They had to be Israel. They had to represent Israel. Moshe was the 71st. He was the Yonah. Shimon ben Hillel was the Nasai. He was the Yonah, 71. So you got Moshe, which is the name for Mashiach within the letter of the Torah. You've got Yeshua, the name for Mashiach above the letter of the Torah. Moshe, Yeshua, Yonah. Both of them were Yonah. If you take the letters that spell Shimon from those 3 names, I've done this on loads of previous lessons, that spell Shimon, because we have got a prophet that got to come like Moshe, and we've got to listen to him, to Shimon. It tells you even the name in the prophecy that it's going to be Shimon. So if we take out of Moshe, Yonah and Yeshua the name Shimon, the one that we have got to listen to him, it spells Yesh Adonai. I've gone through that on about 3 previous videos, so you can get and find that out. However, 393 is the evil opposite, Negara, evil plague. This is what we've all been subjected to with the coronavirus. This is when we've been able to see the full force of evil come into play. So the rabbis say that the initial letters of the 5 aspects of the Erev Rav come to 393. So Nephilim, Gibborim, Anakim, Rephaim, and Amlakim. If you add them all up, if you take the initial letters, it spells Negara, evil plague. The coronaviruses let us know just the full extent of Roman Catholic power to subdue, to surveil, to whatever. They are the all-seeing eye of evil. We want to be subject to the all-seeing eye of good. The all-seeing eye of good is a revelation of the name of Yod-Heh-Wawi above the letter of the Torah. That's the true all-seeing eye of good. But we've got the all-seeing eye of evil, the Roman Catholic all-seeing eye at the top of the pyramid. This is it. All these forces. However, the full ordinal comes to 346. Od Yosef Chai, Yosef is still alive. Regular and ordinal 346. That is the ordinal of Mashiach ben Dawid when Dawid has got the additional Yud. That is Hamar, I do believe, 254. That's significant as well, donkey. So, the truth of Od Yosef Chai, the name of Yod-Heh-Wawi as revealed above the letter of the Torah is still alive. And I'm a witness to that. This is still alive. He's got the power to defeat every force of evil. Okay, and reveal this instead. This is a significant number. It's connected to the 2 camps, Lishne Machanot. The 2 camps that the entire of this Torah portion is related to, the Machnaim, 148, which is also Netzach, I do believe. Netzach comes to 148. Death's eternity. Right, so the square ordinal of this is this number, which is 300 times 859. We can see it's connected to the entire Erev Rav. This is a wholly opposite of this. It had to be split into 2 camps because we was going against the forces of Edomite exile. That we were going against Roman Catholicism, the Vatican, which is all these aspects of evil contained within. And Judaism is sold out to Rome as anything. Islam sold out to Rome. Christianity sold out to Rome. We're all in the belly of the whale. Death swallowed up eternally. 859. 731 is Moshe plus Yeshua. 345 plus 386. You got to unite them to swallow death up. Do not replace me with him. This is the angel. Okay. Al Timirni Bo. This is usually translated obey him, but in the Talmud it says no. It really means do not replace me with him. So we've got an angel guiding us in exile. We haven't got the name of Yod-Heh-Wawi. We haven't got the tree of life. We've got to fight against the forces of evil to cling to that tree of life. Yeshua HaMashiach. This is the revelation of the name above the letter of the Torah. This is the only thing that's got the power to defeat this, by the way. The 2 camps, like I say, Yehuda and Yehoshaphat, split up. So these teachings had a purpose. The Jews getting into bed with Rome and the Christians being exiled into Rome. There was a reason why the camps got split into 2, because we were going against the forces of Satan. And lest one be struck down. Lest one be struck down and the name of Yod-Heh-Wawi dead. Lest one perish. Then contained in the other one was the entire revelation of the one contained in that anyway. Somehow we would have got to it. The upper and lower face. It's just not as dominant. Listen, Tishma'on. Here we can see we've got to listen to him, the prophet like Moses. Shimon. Okay? Shimon. It's that same letters with the tav in front of it, the tav of truth, the seal of God. 866. It's got a mispar gadol of 1,000. Sorry, let's go to here. If we take the mispar gadol and regular, Sorry, if we take the regular and the ordinal, again 92, Mashiach ben Yosef. Mashiach ben Dawid, the ordinal. The Misbah Gadol and the regular, and the Misbah Gadol ordinal, add them all together. So 958 plus 1619, it comes to 2577, which, as we can see, is very, very connected to the concept of the two camps. 100 times this is the two camps. You know, that's the reality of what's happened. Yehuda and Yosef has been split into two. We now need to unite to be all Yisrael. Both the upper and lower names need unity now. 3 times 859. This is going to overcome this fast. We've also got Shimon bar Yonah, son of the Yonah. Why? Because he was literally son of the Nasai. He was son of Hillel. Yonah is code name for Hillel, the 71st of the 70. The 70th member, he was the one that was represented Moshe. He was the prince. Shimon bar Yonah. Moshe was the prince. Moshe was the head of the Sanhedrin, the 70 elders in the wilderness. He was the one from whose spirit of Mashiach passed to those 70 elders. So it's all connected in a wonderful way. 127 is Yeshua filled out ordinarily to the highest level, at the level of Absolute. 127 comes to 866. He's the one you listen to. He's the one that's going to reveal the name above the letter of the Torah. That needs uniting and yoking to the Torah of Moshe. And the bones of Yosef, which children of Israel had brought up. Misbah Gadol and the Misbah Gadol ordinal of that comes to 3,436, which is 859. I think it must be times 4. So I've knocked it off. It's 859 times 4. Okay. And with that, I will say shalom. Please subscribe and share. This is awesome revelation. Share it. Share it with your rabbis. Be bold now. We don't want to see the situation that we have now got where this is Satan in full control. Okay? Satan in full control. The lie is reached an absolute maximum. We've got the entire world is believing the lie of Hamas. It's rallying with support for Hamas. It's now time to act. With that, I will say shalom.